My name is Shanti Banerjee. It's an honor to be your host for this evening, and I would like to extend a welcome to our distinguished invitees, assembled delegates, and the ladies and gentlemen present here for ET Brand Equity and Oracle. Well, we are here at CX Informals, powering BFSI Success with 360 view of customers. This calls for a huge round of applause. CX Informals, as we all know, is organized by ET Brand Equity and Oracle, is an extensive multi-city series focused around various aspects of delivering remarkable customer experience. The show aims to provide an opportunity to learn from leading CX stalwarts, their best practices, and to be a part of the discourse around various facets of customer experience in the financial service domain. Today at CX Informals, we dive deep into the 360 views of customers, delving upon various types of data, tools, and technologies that can help companies deliver the exceptional products and outstanding services, thereby delivering the customer and powering their success. Before we take this session forward, I will like to make an announcement. Of course, in this digital age, social media is really big, and we do have a hashtag for this evening. I'm sure you all have seen the hashtag, which is hashtag CX Informals. So I will request all our eminent guests to please post with this hashtag and also catch all the live updates at BT Brand Equity, the official social media handle for this event. Okay, to set the tone of today's evening, I would like to invite on stage, of course, you all have guessed it, Sagar Mehta, Director, Solutions Engineering, Oracle CX. Huge round of applause for him for a keynote address on powering BFSI success with 360 view of customer. Sagar has over 15 years of diverse experience, having worked with global tech, MNC, large Indian conglomerates, and an AI startup. He specializes in crafting customer journeys, leveraging wide spectrum of digital technology across analytics and marketing automation, among others. Over to you, Sagar sir. The stage is all yours. Huge round of applause for him to take the session forward. Thank you again and good evening.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. So I think as you can look at the picture, right, I think marketeers will go to any extent to get that 360-degree view of their customers, right? Anyone wants to raise their hand of the craziest thing that they have done to know anything about their customers? Yeah. Anyone wants to raise your hand or talk about their experience? Okay. So I think, okay, Preeti, you have something to say?
Yeah. I mean, so this happened a while ago, many years ago actually, and that was a time when I was in ICICI Bank, and we wanted to look at how to increase CASA as always. So we wanted to make the customer account opening journeys much simpler. And I remember that we went to many cities, and we went particularly to Raipur. And over there, that time, itna digitization nahi tha. So we said, okay, we have to walk the path now. So in the morning, we went where all the DSA's office mein gaye. And then we sat with those, we talked to the people who go source the accounts, etc. I still remember that there was a guy, we said, okay, we'll go with various people and we'll check out, what is the route they are taking, whether it is effective, not effective, do a complete time and motion study kind of thing. So I went and this guy said, okay, ma'am, let's go. Then he said, theek hai, should we ask for some cab or something? I said, no, I'll go with you, whichever way you'll go. So he had a Luna. I mean, now at that time, we had seen a Luna, but I was really wondering whether I can sit on this or not. And this I'm talking about, it was around 2008, I think.
Okay.
So we went around Raipur on his Luna trying to,
understand the customer.
Yes. So that was quite an experience for me.
Yeah.
And meeting traders and others, and trying to do cold calls over there. So yeah, I think we were getting to know customers.
This is what exactly people
Yeah.
do even today. They just call it performance marketing, right? So not much has changed. Okay, cool. So in order to just think about the topic that we want to discuss today, we did a okay. Okay, so we kind of we did a LinkedIn survey and we found out, or we put, which are the most abused word in digital marketing today, right? And you would have heard them 100 times every day, right? So we just guessed, which was the most abused word which is used in digital marketing today. Anyone? And can you raise your hands? Talk about which one do you think you talk about every day? Okay, hyper personalization. That's what she feels. Yeah. Okay, yeah, so we got the results, and whopping 45% of them said customer 360 is the most abused word, or the most trending word when it comes to digital marketing, and that's how we came down and zeroed down on this topic. Now, this is a BFSI, I mean everyone's from BFSI industry, and we just wanted to talk about creating the persona or 360 that we're talking about, right? So on the left, what you see is what most of the organizations are already doing today. It's not different, because today you've got tags on your website, apps everywhere, IoT devices in some cases, like insurance, who are offering insurance basis health of people. And at the end of the day, most of the companies are able to do a decent job when it comes to demographically identifying a customer. But I think where we are moving towards is converting those insights into a behavior, right? Or converting that insights into something actionable, which is where technology comes into the picture. So whatever a customer is doing, right, it basically converts it into a possibility, like a score, right? Amount of time spent is not 3 minutes on the website, but 3 minutes is 50% higher than what others are doing on your website, which means that their intent is high, right? So this is converting those analytics that you already have into something that you can action, or your team can action. So that's where we are seeing a shift from a standard stuff that everyone's doing to what we're doing. And the process is collection, categorization, and intelligence. So if you look at collection, as I said, mostly happening today on your website, on your sales portal, some from your CRM, you can see the purchase decision, and services also, from where a lot of customers are now getting insight. So we've got a lot of social media tools now bring insight into your customer data lake, right? So because your customers today are probably they are impatient, right? So they first send you an email, or they call you at the first, then they write on the chatbot, then eventually after one day they'll put on Twitter, right, if they don't get a response. So the whole idea is bringing that Twitter response also back into your customer 360. So this is what we are capturing. And then the segregation, right? So there are data points which are demographic in nature, there are data points that are transactional, and data points that are behavioral in nature. We've all categorized them, and at the end, it's not categorization, but it's what you come out with. So once you got all these data together, it is the propensity scores, it is the satisfaction score, it is the account health score in B2B marketing, right? As Oracle, as a B2B company, we focus a lot on these kind of scores, when we are talking to organizations. Churn likelihood, Primal, is going to talk a little bit about, how one of the largest NBFC company is using AI ML to identify which customers will not pay EMI next month, right? And then you can take that data to take decisions as you want. So this is the intelligence that you convert your data into. And coming to the product, right? I mean, I think my sales team will kill me if I don't talk about product, but I think when we talk about the marketing technology, right, CDP is what is something that we talk about when it comes to customer 360, which is Oracle Unity as a solution that we offer. And what it does is, as you can see on the left hand side, is collection of all the data points that you saw, which is digital, which is social, which is from CRM, which is from your data lakes, which is from your service, which is from your call center. It could be more data points, including IoT, right? So that's where the data points come from, and then the intelligence or scoring algorithms I spoke to you about. But the third most important is actionable, right? So what it also would do is action it or take these insights into your websites or even back to your sales representatives. We are all talking about digital, right? I mean, some of the insurance guy would agree with me that average digital contribution today in insurance industry is 5 to 7%, in spite of so much money being spent on search and display, and it's not improving too much. The ratios are less than 1%, when it comes to inorganic leads, and about 5% for organic leads, right? So all the investments that are being done in digital, to some extent, they're not taking you ahead. But that 80-85% of the people, your sales reps, your DSAs, as you spoke about, how do you take this information to them? I think that's the next step of customer 360, not utilizing it only for your digital experience, because that's still going to be only 10 or 15%. At least in insurance industry, I'm aware, maybe banking would be slightly different, but all of them are between 10 to 20%. So it's all about taking these insights to your sales rep who are still doing 80% of your business. So that's a missing piece that we are often seeing when people talk about customer 360 data lakes. They are doing everything they can. I mean, I was recently talking about, one of the investments that someone has done, and, the digital properties are not creating that kind of a return, right? The fact is, because your top of the funnel may be, not big, that's why, you're not able to justify those investments. But moment you take that insight to your sales rep, you would definitely see, the output coming. So that was quickly on customer 360. I would, apart from the CDP, I think there are few other areas in which Oracle works from the marketing space. So as you can see, there is CRM, which is both from sales and service perspective. There's marketing automation. There is policy automation, which is basically all your rules that you write in order to get to that term insurance plan, and some of our customers have also integrated with their LOS. So you ask questions. If you go above a score which is, let's say, 8 out of 10, then automatically you go through the underwriting process. So that is integration of rules with your loan originating system. And then, of course, content management, which is the CMS platform. So these are the few areas where we work with our customers across BFSI industry in India. The good part is all these solutions are hosted in India, which is one of the core areas or concerns of most of the BFSI companies. I would just like to talk about a customer story. This is a brand that doesn't know anything about their customer, but still wants to create a fan base. And it really doesn't want to sell their own product, because they don't even know whether the customer will buy their product or not, right? So the company that I'm talking is not a BFSI company, it's Red Bull, right? We all know they want us to drink Red Bull, but they never have advertisements where people are drinking Red Bull, right? So it's everything around that. So this ad is our partnership, Oracle's partnership with Red Bull on how they are creating a fan base. It's a 1.5 minute video.
We compete in one of the biggest sports in the world. There's always adversity. You're going to lose more races than you're going to win. But it's those days that you learn the most. The fans are often overlooked, and we want to know who our fans are. We want to know what they're interested in. We want to be able to give them an insight that they can't get anywhere else. So understanding our fans, what they want, where they are, who they are, whatever it is that engages our fans, we want to know about it. And so therefore, a partnership like the one we have with Oracle, the technology that opens up to us is so exciting. AI and ML and all these new technologies that allow us to make more informed decisions. At the end of the day, it's about working with your team to try and take on some of the best teams, some of the biggest brands in the world. And when you achieve that, that's the biggest sense of satisfaction.
Something away from BFSI, but just wanted to add a little more flavor. Now, just a couple of last slides. I think thank you for hearing me out. But what I would want to take you back is two things that we often see when customers talk about internally. All you guys would be talking about let's say a CDP platform internally in your organization, but there are some concerns that inherently comes up, right? I mean, there's a team that talks about the data lake that you're already building, right? Why do you need another CDP platform? And there is senior management who's going to ask you difficult questions on the KPI that you will achieve, the revenue that you will generate out of it, right? So just to give you an overview, there's a barcode. If you can just scan that, it will download a file that basically gives you a clear picture between what a CDP does versus what a data lake does, and how both of them can work together, how a CDP would enrich your data lake, because technology teams often say, "Arey, data lake to bana rahe," right? You will have everything there, but that's not an actionable. And if you look at what a CDP does versus a data lake does, right? You would probably identify that data lakes are built for actionable insights as compared to the CDPs are built for actionable insights as compared to data lakes, which are more of a customer 360. So yes, your IT team says we will build a customer 360 in data lake. They are absolutely correct. Yes, they can. But the question to ask is, can you run AI models on them? Probably the answer is no. The question is, can I use them in my marketing automation? Can I use them on my display advertisements? Right? The answer will be, no, most likely, right? So this, you can scan this code and you'll be able to download it. Just refresh it and it will be there on your in your files. So this is one takeaway, and the second one was the value framework for BFSI. So our team at Oracle has built this framework which you can leverage, and this has 5 slides, 3 for banking and 2 for insurance. Okay, so it gives you a complete framework on what are the KPIs that and then there is this whole attract, convert, sell, serve and retain and grow, and these are the typical journeys that all of you go through. There may be different teams in your organization doing all of this, but at the end of the day, everything is mapped to a KPI. So what this framework will offer you is one more ammunition when you go to senior management and say, hey, these are the KPIs that I would impact if I've got a technology like this, right? So yeah, so I think I've got 30 seconds. I was bang on for 15 minutes. Thank you so much. I am Sagar Mehta, Director of Pre-Sales for Oracle CX Business. That's my LinkedIn. We'll be happy to connect with each of you, later on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sagar. So we'll not let you go just like that. There has to be a memento for starting the session on an energetic note, I have to say. So may I request Mr. Vinay Narkar, Partner Transformation Financial Services Advisory KPMG of India, to please come up on stage and present the memento to Mr. Sagar here. Huge round of applause. Also, at the same time, I hope you all are keeping your phones on silent, but then you all are active on it. Also tweeting and putting the hashtag for all the social media platforms as hashtag CX Informals. You can catch the live session at ET Brand Equity. Also, there's a quick announcement I would like to make that, at the end of the session is when we will take all the questions so that you all are able to listen to all the speakers and enjoy the insightful session that is going to follow soon. Okay, so taking it forward. Today, financial activities have shifted online, right? For the majority of customers, be it purchasing insurance, opening a new account, or seeking loan, customers are all doing it online, and leading to a constant interaction between customer and BFSI brands. They interact via multiple channels, social media, of course, we've named it many times, website, apps, IVRS, walk-ins, bots, and many more. As a result, these brands are working towards creating consistent omni-channel experiences to drive constant engagement and retain the customer for long duration. With that, join me in inviting on stage here Kamlesh Manuja, COO Edelweiss Tokyo Life Insurance, for an exclusive keynote address on omni-channel engagement, a necessity for remarkable CS. Huge round of applause for Sir here. A highly committed and focused professional, Kamlesh sir comes with an extensive years of experience across insurance domains with specialization across operations, customer service and risk management among others. Over to you, sir. Good evening once again.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm audible, right?
Yes.
Excellent. So, I'm amongst a lot of BFSI members, and some of the interactions which I had during the break was wonderful. The topic which I'm going to talk about, I'm sure many of us in our space, we are already doing some amount of work in this particular area. But essentially, let's cumulatively talk about what's the opportunity lies when we talk about omni-channel engagement, which will drive the customer experience. Okay. So essentially, not so far away, retail was very, very simple. It was largely, mass advertisings which were there. There were TV commercials. And as a consumer, we used to go to a store, pick up what we wanted and come back. It is with this advent of digitization, digital communication technologies, the complexities have proved up. There are lot amount of opportunity to a consumer. Not only that, using digital channels like mobile, in terms of websites, in terms of other mediums, where the customer preferences have changed, and it's actually kind of created some part of conflict between online as well as physical stores. And this demand or this need is kind of germinated to a creation of saying that how do we create an omni-channel fulfillment in order to make sure that we satisfy a physical need customer who wants to have a feel, and somebody who's going onto the internet like a Gen Z is able to also satisfy his or her need in that particular bit. So while we talk about this dichotomy and how do we bridge it, it looks very simple. There is a need, there is an opportunity, it needs to be catered to it. But the fact is, the bigger challenge is how do you create that level of seamlessness? How do you create that level of personalization, not only to acquire new customers, but also to make sure to minimize churn? That's the bigger issue, what BFSI, we all of us struggle. What I'm going to talk about, largely 3 or 4 slides, is essentially what these changes we are seeing in the behavior, largely post-COVID, how the consumption has changed. What's the need for omni-channel? When we talked about a logical business case, there is an opportunity. How do we capitalize on that particular bit? And how do we successfully implement some part within our organizations and maybe go to become one step better than what we were earlier? This is, I think, some part Sagar talked about. These are multiple industries where it's talking about how the digital adoption has gone play. And also it is actually talking about new or first time users which have actually come in for those particular industries following COVID, because the physical infrastructure was almost not there. It was by force, these individuals, first time users. If you look at the data, right from banking, which is kind of 30% of new users, to insurance, which is the sector which in fact, Sagar talked about it, almost 80% of first time users actually consuming certain amount of service from a digital perspective. While that was per force or in terms of no option or a choice, but actually what we are able to see the trend to be continuing to that extent, albeit not 70%, it is toned down, but still we've seen lot amount of preferential shift has happened in consumption of digital. It's no longer a choice for an insurance or a BFSI organization, it's a need because the customer is demanding. These are few amounts of facts. Some of you would already know about it, but it's more pertinent when we talk about omni-channel engagement. We talked about driving customer experience. If we look at, there is a consumption increase which we saw in the previous slide also, and 50% of these customers are actually interacting, largely on the banking sides, they're actually interacting through mobile apps and website. They're not wanting to use the physical infrastructure at all. What we have seen, people who are now wanting to take any products in the BFSI, in insurance, what we are seeing, they are actually kind of reaching out to multiple channels onto the social media. Otherwise, they're using 6 times touch points as compared to what if you see a decade before or a decade and a half before, they were actually kind of searching, talking to an agent or reaching out to one side before taking a particular decision. So the customer today is far more evolved, far more aware from what it was earlier. 61% of the customers are expecting personalized experiences. Now here, especially millennials, especially Gen Zs, they are very clear that if, obviously from a competitiveness, what product you're giving me, it has to be good, it has to be better, it has to be superior. But more importantly, if the experience is not good, I'm not going to be loyal to that particular brand. So the stickiness is very fickle if, to an extent, the seamless experience from a customer is not, for the customer is not there. And lastly, what we've seen is an organization which is driving omni-channel, while we talk about catering to different channels, but more importantly, if the experience is not seamless, it is actually seen almost 30% retention rates as compared to an organization which is omni-channel seamless has a retention rates of 90%. So that's the big variance what you will actually see if you're able to execute or implement things in the right manner. This is the last part which is very, very pertinent. And in fact, I was in a forum earlier and I actually was informally talking about customer feedback, NPS. Some organizations are doing CSAT, somebody was doing NPS. But the fact is 40% of the organization across their value chain are actually not taking customer feedback. So that's the opportunity or the starting point which the companies have to move on that particular bit. For an omnichannel, what are the key components or what are the key benefits? Logically, it's quite intuitive, but let me give you one small case study. Think about it. This is a lady named Meera. She is into a multinational organization working at a very, very senior level. It's her 10th wedding anniversary and she is coming from her office. She had a dinner with her husband for the 10th anniversary celebration. And, she was going to the office in the morning and she wanted to place an order online. She wanted to buy a watch for her husband. She places an order. While doing a payment, the payment fails. She was completely agitated because she was chasing or running against the time. She wanted a gift because she could give it to her husband. That was the emotional moment which was very, very important for her. To realize the payment failed, she attempted again. Again, the payment failed. She called up the call center. The call center person was completely clueless what this call was. It's a new customer, or it was a premium customer though, but the person is calling saying that I'm not able to do a purchase on the website. What do I do? The person is saying that, ma'am, you place the request, I will take it up, I will come back to you, so on and so forth. Getting very, very irritated because of the emotional moment what she was, she decided to take a break in the office hours, go to the nearby shop, pick up a gift, and actually kind of make sure that the evening is pleasant what she had planned for. And the day next, she was irritated because her experience was completely, awry. She goes on to social media, kinds of create brickbats against that particular organization, threatens that she will kind of exit from the premium membership. That's the case. What omnichannel can actually do in this particular bit? And I'm sure some of you would have the answer, but I would rather say that in an omnichannel scenario, the moment a person goes onto the website, a premium customer is getting into the failure, the person decides to reach out to the call center, the omnichannel architecture will give you a dashboard where before you reach out to the call center will reach out to you. They will saying that I'm Mr. John, I'm here to help you, ma'am. I see a trouble in that particular bit. Can you tell me what the reason of the failure is? Or rather, he would know the reason of the failure, saying that, how do I help you? Realizing the emotional moment the person has gone through. In order to retain loyalty, John, who's a call center executive, actually realizes the moment, will actually give him a free gift voucher and give him a discount of 30% in that particular bit. This is how the experience one would, kind of translate into once we have an omni-channel engagement built from the customer. And that's where we're talking about, we need to know customers, and largely today if you look at Gen Z as a customer, 2 to 3 out of 5 customers will end up buying your solutions, your products, your bank accounts, your insurance policies. They will actually buy it through online. You leveraging Instagram, leveraging Facebooks, where they will get a rich amount of information. These are the people, and in fact, as we progress, and that's the research which is published, 70% of the customers today will not want to go to your brick and mortar shop or the retail outlet. They would want to do and execute a transaction online. That's how it will move, or it will progress to. And that's where the omni-channel need is going to change the dimensions from where we are operating. It builds loyalty, and I gave you statistics, and that's the published statistics, for multiple organizations. We're saying if you are able to get and in the example, the case study which I talked about, if you're able to execute it right, if you're able to create that level of personalization and seamlessness in the entire journey, you will be able to retain your customers to a tune of 91%. As against for a weaker organization, like the example on the failure point which happened, which not only lost the customer, it also created a negative publicity in the first case. Their retention level is almost 33%, 60% less to an extent as compared to organization which gets this strategy right. And obviously, needless to say, there are too many components which will come into play, which digital as a backbone in that particular bit. With digitization being there, it's the way you are doing that level of business. It also is kind of going to give you that level of elevation in order to understand the customer, the channel which it's coming from, the medium which is to be catered, and it's to be engaged is where you're not only able to cater, you're also able to deliver the exceeding expectations from the end customer. And lastly, it's something like a boomerang effect, where you are not, when I mean by able to save time and resources, is where the customer is unhappy in the case study which I talked about. Instead of getting the customer go to the social media, you are able to pick it up, then do a reactive service recovery in that particular bit. You are actually able to do it in a proactive manner before a damage can occur. So that's the boomerang effect which you are able to kind of address on that particular piece if you were to get it right from an omni-channel point of view. There are 3 steps, and if you kind of talk to an expert, and if you have to talk to Oracle, there are multiple steps within the steps what we're talking about. I purposely, from a simplicity perspective, picked up a high level cohorts which are very, very important for us in order to go onto the path of omni-channel, which eventually will give us a better understanding from the consumer in order to cater to their experience. Is get to know your customers is very, very important. Who's your customer? Which site, which platform, which channel the customer is kind of coming through? How has he identified your organization, your product? Is that the brand or the advertising which is attracted to that individual? It's important for us to understand what is the behavior which is working from an organization point of view. Also, there is a very small difference between a customer 360, what we heard from Sagar and Oracle team, and the information what you're able to pick up, because a privacy and an invasion, there's a very, very thin line. If you don't get it right, and if there's a trust deficiency, it's actually going to work in a very negative impact from an organization standpoint of view. So one has to be careful when we glide on this particular path from a feedbacking and identifying what's the opportunity which is working for. The second part is pick the right channels, and this is very, very important. And the example what we talked about in the previous presentation, that insurance part in terms of converting digitally is less than 1%, or maybe organically it's 5%. The reason is because we don't know the science behind it, where the customer is coming from, what is the medium he's kind of using. So today we kind of giving him the bombardment of information in terms of email, SMS, WhatsApp, but we don't know, or we are not actually going deeper to figure it out what is working for that particular individual, what is not. And lastly, adopting the right tools. Digital platform is the asset, which is obviously hygiene. It's the baseline which will drive business transformation, but it's more importantly, how are you leveraging customer information? How are you creating an unstructured data? How are you leveraging analytics in order to create a call to action? So these are the things which are, at a high level, which are material enough for And all these things have to be unified into the database so that you are able to convert and create a call to action for the respective teams. So with that, I think this is the last slide in terms of summing it up, is saying that if you listen to the customer, it's the part where you're able to feed into your assembly line in order to create a call to action. Analyze is what I kind of narrated and summarized, is saying that how well you capture your information is the part where you're able to analyze it. And lastly, you have to create a culture of action where if you don't feed information, if you don't create a unified level of customer interactions, you will never be able to create a resolution. So with that, omnichannel engagement, it requires an organization to be active everywhere and every time. It's like a 24/7 availability, listening, catering to the customer. And more importantly, digital is the real asset where, it's a real estate where you cover the omni-channel engagement and experience. So with that, I just, call it a day, and I hope you all enjoyed it and received it in a simple manner, which I attempted. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kamlesh sir. Huge round of applause for you, because this was a power pack session, and even as a customer, I could relate to the story you just mentioned. Thank you for the insights you have shared with our audience. We would not let you go without a memento. So may I request Mr. Primal Shah, Head BFSI Director, Sales Oracle CX, to please come into the honors. Huge round of applause for both of them.
Thank you.
This also calls for a photo op.
Pleasure. Thank you. Come forward. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Customers are sharing tons of their financial data with the BFSI brand, which can help them understand their spending, saving, consumption pattern. They need to deploy the right tools and technologies to derive insights from this data to view their customer as a single unit and know them better in terms of their preferences, choices, and plans. The insights can help them in creating personalized solutions, touch points, and offering for the customers. With that, we move forward with the next session, which is a candid fireside chat. And to do the honors and also honor the tools and tactics for making sense of customer data, I would request Nidhi Mehta, VP Marketing, Marwari Shares and Finance Limited and One Finance, to please come up on stage. Huge round of applause for Nidhi Mehta ma'am here. And also to join her, I would like to call back on stage Sagar Mehta, Director, Solutions Engineering, Oracle CX. Nidhi Mehra ma'am is a professional brand expert with a track record of success in a variety of settings, adept at managing brands, developing content strategies, and creating marketing plans. Nidhi ma'am comes with over 17 years of experience in marketing and advertising, and also 6 years in fintech. Huge round of applause for both of them. Over to you all. Thank you so much.
Good evening again. Welcome, Nidhi, to this fireside chat. Lot of people would want to know a little bit more about you and the organization that you work for. So we can start with that.
Hi, glad to be here. I'm actually a part of Marwari Chandrana Group, which is a Gujarat-based group which has taken over the West through different kind of financial products. Currently, actually, we're catering to 3 different bases of financial products altogether. One is Marwari Financial Services, which is a complete broking house. One is a complete prop desk, and which is working towards algo trading, and looking at the customer data and knowing that how customer behaves, we have been able to identify certain need gaps, which has actually led to the origin of the next institute which we are offering, which is One Finance. So currently we are focusing our energies towards building that, because what we believe is that's something which a customer needs, and that's the need gap which we'll be able to fill with this offering.
Oh, Interesting. I think we've heard a lot about customer 360 coming from the organization that you are involved in and what they do. I think we would rather want some tips so that we can make some money tomorrow, right? So what do you guys say? Do we need some more tips or customer 360?
Okay, if you need tips, if you're sure about it, then I like to keep it safe, because I always believe it's a long-term investor who makes money. So if you've not made the most of the Tata Steel breakup, which has just recently happened, please go for it. It will definitely be a money churner for you. And bank ETF. We are a financial sector. We know it never fails us. So please, Bank Nifty and Bank ETF. It's a long term for you.
Fantastic. I think this was the most valuable insight most of us have got today.
Fintech never defies.
Definitely. Okay. So coming back to a little serious topic, or what we've all been here for today evening. So the first question, of course, is you've got so much you've got so many properties and so many customers across tier 2, tier 3 cities and metros coming in, right? So the question is, how do you get all the data about your customers? So what are the mediums through which you get them, and how you are using that data in some form or fashion to map the journey?
Okay, so if I talk about the two consumer-facing products which we have in the market, one is the Marwari Financial Services, which is a pure broking house. Now, some of you who come from that background already know how the journeys were before when the technology intervened. There was a long wait. The biggest pain point was to open a demat account and make the right choice at the market moment, which was required. Over the time, especially thanks to the pandemic and the digital adaptations, the data which has been shared by Mukesh and by you, it clearly shows that that rise has happened. While that was happening, I was part of angel broking at that time, and I would like to share this experience because there was a clear data slide which we came across where in 15 years, the number of accounts which we opened, we ended up opening during pandemic, during the adaptation which was happening. And the reason were not just the digital backbone or the technological aspects of it. It's also some technology which came from India Stack, where e-sign, e-KYC, and all your digital local became very easy for it. Now, rather than promising a customer to just open a demat account, I could promise them to open a demat account in 5 minutes, start trading on the same day, which is a bigger win for it, because market movement is something which people understood in volatility. Another behavior which we came across in the same segment during the past few years was the rise of tier 2 and tier 3. And one of this reason, the biggest reason would have been thanks to the Mota Bhai for Jio. I think that actually enabled it. And when we did our studies at that time as well, when we looked at the customer data, we found out what the kind of product they're looking for. That made the broking houses to move from a regular broking house to a discount broking house, because that was the need of the hour, that was what the customer was looking for. Now, over the past 6 years, if you see, in 2018 and 19, we saw around 3.5 crore demat account. Then it moved around 4.9 the next year. And the last data which we saw was a 10 crore account opening in India, which is a huge number. Now the customer has evolved, they are investing, they know I can make money when the market is down. And a lot of influencers have the role in it. So influencer tracking came into picture, looking at that channel, referral tracking came into picture. Now, what we realized when we looked at this data from Marwari Financial Services point of view as well is that all of these users are looking at their money in silo. So wealth creation possibility is not happening. They are only looking at what I have in my demat account versus where I'm invested in insurance, what is my look over there. So we did our own research. We try to find more, gather more data through our own research, and we got linked with Frost & Sullivan, and it showed us that 60% of the individuals who are actually creating their financial footprint are all over the place. They're scattered. You might end up have around 3 to 4 apps on your own mobile, because you have a banking with someone else, you have a demat account with someone else, you have insurance with someone else. That led to not just a marketing approach to it, but also creating a product or an offering which can help them to resolve this problem. So we ended up looking for a solution, and from technology point of view, we looked at the account aggregation, and that helped us to form One Finance the way we are creating right now. So that is the way we have used data across.
Yeah, that was a lot of insights. 3 years back, I used to go to insurance companies, and they all said we want to create an app, and I was like, yeah, we have all the solutions, but in my mind I thought, why would someone launch or download an insurance app, right? And I just saw numbers from one of the large insurance companies who said 1 out of 4 digital transactions are happening on app, right? So I think they were definitely right, and I was wrong. But things have changed. But going back, I do remember sitting at broker's office for trading, and I remember getting up to Udyan Mukherjee every day. I don't know how many of you have got up and heard Udyan Mukherjee in the morning on CNBC right before taking your trade calls. But yeah, I think things have changed, and the way you explained, the growth that has happened in Demat account. I don't know why that's not happening in our taxpayers' numbers, because it's not going up beyond 4 crores for last so many years. But anyways, good that this sector is growing up. So taking this, the good part is having a lot of data, right? And the bad part is what do you do with so much data? How do you filter out so much? Lot of, I would not say crap is not the right word, but yeah, there's so much information, and with this social world, there's so many tweets, and now there's unstructured data coming in. So how do you have those blinders and ensure that this is the only data I want to use, and I'll exclude everything else? So how do you decide that?
So I think you presented very well in your slide as well. Most of us got into directly creating a data lake or a warehouse to see how much data I can accumulate, what I can make a BI out of it, what sort of intelligence will come, what is my next product out of it. But that is incomplete. So it has to be looked into also a lot of behavioral pattern of the customer, how they are behaving on their browsing histories, how they're behaving on our own platforms. So until and unless we create a right mix of that, it doesn't make sense to any user. It's not also that I like, if we're talking about Demat account again, but it was not that the first time I said do an e-sign or eKYC, the user was really excited. And if you look at even the brands like Zerodha and all, they get the maximum negative ORM mentions when they change their entire UI UX, because the behavior pattern has been set. The customer get uncomfortable, but make them uncomfortable, because until unless we do that, we will not get the relevant data, or will not be able to give the right solution to the user which is required. Now, when we look at data, we are not looking at data from the just marketing point of view, because I believe marketing, product, and technology has become so overlapping with each other that everything has to be in sync. So while we creating customer journeys, a lot of contemplation even happens on whether I need one data point from the user to register, or I need multiple. Because the email person wants to send an email, the WhatsApp person wants to send a WhatsApp, and we're still sending SMS for some reason which people don't open. So rather than that, if we are able to see that what channel that particular member from the segment which we have defined has opened up, and what is their major conversion behavior out of it, it creates a better channel mix for us. It creates a better approach for us. Once they come our own assets, okay, if we do not evaluate whether they are behaving the way we want them to behave on our landing pages, whether it's through heat maps or a video recording or any kind of other tool which creates that backup for them, it's very important, because then you don't know what the quality. I might think that I've created the best campaign, I might created the best website, but apna bachcha sabko pyara lagta hai. It's the customer who tells you that you might feel that you create the most beautiful website in the world, but it doesn't work for me. And that's what we need to read into. And of course, when the moment of reality, when they end up using your product, okay, like just Mukesh mentioned, that omni-channel has become the reason for it. And why it has become the reason? Because people know they have channels to respond into. Earlier, if the customer service used to hang up and be like, what is it doing? Now I can go on social media and tweet about it. And I know brands will react to it, because they are worried about their online reputation. They want to neutralize their online reputation. And that has come into picture, because brand creation takes a lot of time. Whereas if you create a digital clutter just for the sake of conversion, it will subside it and it will subdue your brand. If you don't want to create that, then you have to make sense of all the data and create the right journey for the user.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. I can relate. I do not like purple color, so I just don't go to websites that the brands that use purple, right? So yeah, I think I can relate to a lot of it. You remember the 4 abused words, right? One of them was hyper personalization, right?
Yeah.
If you make any of the speakers stand here in digital world and ask them, that do not use these 4 words and you can speak for 5 minutes. I bet even the best guy can't stand there for 5 minutes because these are the words. So coming to that, how do you, kind of bring all this data together to personalize, experience for your customer? I know we've gone much beyond saying, dear Sagar on SMSs or emails. Or,
I think that's the worst video.
Yeah, that's the worst when people are coming back, right? They're not want to address you with your name. So they call dear Petron or, they just kind of excite you. So how do you do that, apart from all the personal, how do you personalize experience for your customers on everything, when they come to your, let's say, a branch or a website, wherever they are?
So I remember I raised my hand for hyper personalization, and I will be very truthful. I used it for my brand line that One Finance is giving you a hyper personalized approach. And when I used the word, I had a different perception. And when I spoke to the customer had a very different perception. So what we realized is it's not just about hyper personalization, it's about customization and creating the right content for them, a right story or a narrative for them, which makes sense for them. Most of the customers act when the content is relevant for them at that time. So of course the time becomes very, very essential. It has to be authoritative and it has to make sense to them. Now, how do we attain that? Because as you said, you might be a different person and I'll be a different person altogether. So what we're talking about is customization. And when I say customization at very individual level, what the biggest mistake we do in fintech, especially in the sector I am specifically into it, we go and ask the customer, what is your risk appetite? Now, how do you define that? Like last evening, I was talking to Sagar. Sagar said, I don't go for tips because I have lost money in tips. I'll go for blue chips. I go for safe. And if he goes ahead and fill in on any app or any surface that I'm a medium risk taker, think about the possibilities of stocks or investment tips which will end up giving to them. Maybe he's a person who does a passive fund, but we're saying, no, you should go for active, dude. It's the right thing for you. But that's because I ended up asking you this from you. The idea is that we collect data from customer in a way that we are able to give an insight that this is your behavior, this is your persona, and basis that we are able to give you a better solution for it. But of course, I need a financial input from that, and of course, technology helps us in that. We have been able to see the asset versus liability of a user to create a complete financial persona for the user. Now, if I mix this two, I know what sort of behavior this customer will have, and I have to remove one thing out of the entire mix, which is my biasness towards the product. So, especially for that, at One Finance, we took a call. We will not create our own product. We will not do something which will be something where I am building a product until I'm building the best. And how that helped us is because now we are able to rate the products which are best for you, for your personality. So it's not about the 4-star rating or a 5-star rating on a product, but what works for you. And further, we checked it on various levels. Like for example, you are you're staying in a metro. If you're in your profile, the same person is in a tier 2, tier 3 city, the income will be different, the saving patterns will be different, the cost of expenditures will be different. How can I go and talk the same language to this customer? Okay, or maybe the same language in terms of marketing lingo as well. I cannot go ahead and use any information with them which their culture or their vicinity is not linking to. Plus, languages make a difference. When we go from one city to another, the language makes a difference. How we approach them makes a difference. So, all this data point, when we talk to them, has to convert into a contextual content for them. I think gone are the days when we can do like few paid ads and a blog post and think, oh, my brand is ready to arrive. It takes a lot to build brand now. It's not just about doing one ad, TV ad on ATL channels. It's not about just getting the best influencers in the market. It is how we talk to the customer in the clutter which they're saying on the digital platforms, and are they able to connect with us what we said to them? Then only they will come to us, and it will be more organic conversation with them rather than in a paid conversation. If we see some of the brands which we have been able to crack recently will be like Grow, Beshak, Salt, for some of the women who have actually gone and experienced that. But that has created more value for us, and the brand loyalty has come from that approach.
I can totally relate. I had a lot of issues with Nika, and now with Salt coming in, right? There's a lot of money that's being spent now at my house. So yeah, I can completely relate to Salt. As software companies, we love BFSI sector, right? And you want to mention why software companies love BFSI sector so much, right? Can I get some answers? Dinner and drinks are not far away. I think this is the second last session, so we would definitely like some active participation. Why does software companies like BFSI company? Yeah.
I think BFSI also have heavy regulations,
Right.
and that creates new IT requirements which you guys love.
Yeah, definitely. That's number 2 reason. So anyone for the number 1 reason?
It's about money.
Yeah, that's I think that's the number 1 reason. But the fact remains, BFSI companies have deep pockets, and IT requirements are big, right? Security is number 1. They like to innovate. I think that's one thing. And if you look at the competition that BFSI is facing, probably no other industry is facing today, and that's primarily because all the new age unicorns, right, who have made it big, they are all in fintech space, most of them. And the ones like Zomatos or Swiggies of the world or Olas of the world really did not have companies which did the same thing, right, which did not have corporates doing that. So what we definitely see is BFSI sector, yes, has a lot of money, likes to be ahead in the game, but they're getting a lot of competition, right, today from the fintech. So in order to stay ahead, they are investing, right? So just that comes to that brings me a question, that what's the kind of innovation, where's the kind of investments that you're doing in next 6 months, 1 year, in order to deliver that personalized experience that we spoke about?
I agree that fintech has the deep pockets, and I think the one of the bigger reason is of the higher adoption rate in India as compared to global is that only. If we say innovation, as I said, from a brand innovation point of view, it's very important that we reach out to user where it's relevant for them.
Right.
Okay, and if the kind of money we are putting into is directly into the customer, building the journeys which matter to our customer, giving the experience for them. The kind of business we are building up, especially with our upcoming One Finance, we cannot tell the customer, okay, just share your details with me. Why will the customer do that? I am not a brand they know. I am not the brand they trust. I have to build that with them. And hence, the very first thing we are trying to connect with on a human level. When I say human level, that means what we have done ourselves is we invested into working with various scientists who have this behavioral aspect cracked up. We've been able to create different personalities for the customer. So it creates our own persona to talk to them. And now we are approaching customer that, first understand yourself. Let's you and me both understand what is the kind of person you are. And then let's talk. When we are doing that, we're trying to approach each personalities we have defined in a different way. Because I cannot talk to an aggressive person or a non-aggressive person the same way. It will not make sense to them. And that's where we're putting more of innovation towards creating a product and talking to the customer in the content where it makes sense for them. Now, from brand value, I am also seeing the behavior of these personalities, of what is their digital behavior when they try to consume content. And it's very important that we invest towards that, because most of the people are not looking for a direct conversion. They don't want to just go ahead, get registered with you and start working with you. It's more about, working having a better conversation with you. So having that content actually creates much larger impact on us. So that's the whole game plan right now.
Yeah, thank you, Nidhi. I think there were a lot of insights. I have a couple of more questions, but due to the time constraints, we will not be able to take them, right. But thank you for all the knowledge that you've shared, all the experience that you've shared. 2 things that I'm going to take home from this session today is definitely Tata Steel and BFSI ETFs, right? So thank you so much. I think it was great talking to you. And thank you again, lovely audience.
Huge round of applause. Sagar sir totally deserves one more memento, but this time you will have to present it to Nidhi ma'am. Huge round of applause, and let Sagar sir do the honors of presenting the memento this time. Huge round of applause. That was a power-packed session. Thank you again. According to research, more than 70% of customers quit financial apps after the first week of download. Too soon, right? And I could totally relate to this one. Other than this, many customers detract at the time of payments due to language barriers and other complexities. These issues make it difficult for customers to continue to engage with the BFSI brands. Brands are working on creating and also strengthening interfaces, short forms, asking minimal customer information, creating 24/7 helpline services to create a seamless experience for customers. So with that, let's move on to the final and the most power-packed session of the day. If y'all are ready, give me a huge round of applause so that we can proceed with the driving seamless experience from onboarding to cross-selling session, which is going to be the final session for the evening. And for this, may I request the esteemed panel to join us here. I will be taking the names and sharing their bios. I will request all our eminent guests to cheer them. Okay, first up is going to be Suraj Shetty, Head Customer Experience, Kishring. Suraj has over 12 years of diverse experience spanning across operations, product, customer service, and finance, working with established companies like HDFC Bank, among others. Huge round of applause. Next, I will request Chandni Mehta, Director Marketing, Turtle Mint, to please come up on stage. Huge round of applause for ma'am. Chandni ma'am is a seasoned professional with an experience in customer experience, making the brand more tangible with smart technology solutions. Her experience in the IoT world ranges from fintechs across paytech, lendtech, insurance tech. Huge round of applause for Chandni ma'am. Moving forward, again, I would like to call upon a lovely lady in the house, Preeti Singh ma'am, on stage. Preeti Singh is the Head Customer Experience, Access Finance Limited, a quality professional with over 20 years of work experience. Preeti ma'am has worked across customer groups and key stakeholders to consistently channel status quo to achieve buy-in for the recommended solutions and its implementation approach to evaluate the impact of change and ensure sustenance of initiatives. Huge round of applause for all our panelists here. Also joining us will be Amlan Singh, Head of Customer Service, IIFL, Indian Infoline Group. Amlan sir works closely with the group chairman, MD and CEO, built the true definition of a high-performance team with pitch-perfect operations that transform a business operator into a best-in-class global communications organization. Huge round of applause for sir here. Now, I would like to call upon Primal Shah, Head BFSI Director Sales, Oracle CX, back on stage with us. Primal Shah comes with over 25 years of experience in the field of digital enterprise solution. He is proficient in crafting a customer value proposition for digital solutions, enterprise application and technology solutions across BFSI, manufacturing and professional service segment. Huge round of applause for sir. And final panelist here would be Mr. Vinay Narkar, Partner Transformation Financial Services Advisory, KPMG India, to please come and do the moderation for this particular session. Huge round of applause for Vinay Narkar sir. Vinay sir is a partner in Mumbai office and has over 17 years of experience. He specializes in the financial service domain, focusing on digital strategy and implementation. He has expertise in the areas of large digital transformation, programs, business model, and digital strategy, among others. So huge round of applause for our eminent panel. We are looking forward to this discussion, and I think you can assure that with huge round of applause so that they get all the energy in the house to proceed. Over to you all, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for the fantastic introduction. I think topic today is a very interesting topic. It's creating seamless experience across the customer lifecycle, right? Be it from onboarding to cross-sell, to servicing, to collections for my NBFC friends, to claims experience for my insurance friends. So it's a different life cycle. If you look at the stats, as it was mentioned, 70% customers actually, more than 70% quit the financial services app if you remove the mobile banking apps after they downloaded the app. And one interesting stat to give you is after the pandemic, while a lot of the financial institutions have gone for digitized journeys, still 10%, only 10% are completely STP, that is without any manual intervention. So there's still a large population of India requires some hand holding from a customer experience perspective. And this is largely due to the way the journeys are built, and the financial institutions are constantly evolving the kind of experience you want to give to customer, the amount of information you want to collect from them has to be refined. And to discuss this and the pain points around these journeys, how do you reduce TAT, the turnaround time? I have a very interesting panel. I have today the NBFC point of view. I'll hope to get the InsurTech point of view. I also have a fintech point of view, and then I have a product standpoint. So it's a very diverse kind of panel I have here. So I'll start with while we have spoken about insurance and broking. Let me start with NBFCs first. So Amna, let me start with you. If you look at the customer journeys, right, while taking a loan, a lot of NBFCs have innovated in the customer journeys from an onboarding perspective, and there is a race to do it STP. What are the key pain points you think are there from a customer perspective while taking a loan, be it secured or unsecured loan?
So it was a very interesting question that you have put across. So first and foremost, the pain points that we come across is the pain points have suddenly changed in the last 2.5 years. Earlier, where just to give you an example, where my pain point was a signature mismatch of a customer, now the pain point is the biometric device not acknowledging his fingerprint. So the pain points have shifted in last 2.5 years due to the pandemic. But one thing that I have been fortunate enough is the group that I have been working with maybe envisaged this a long time ago. So just to give you a very layman example, Indian Infoline Group or IFL Finance as an entity was computerless in all their branches almost 5 years back. So we had zero computers. So when the pandemic actually struck in and people were thinking of how to go ahead and start working from home, for me, it was a daily job. All they had to do is take their tabs, go home and start working from there. So we had walked that mile with a different concept altogether, but unfortunately that was a blessing in disguise that we went through, and there was a resistance when we started this journey because people were used to that keyboard, mouse, and screen, and to take pictures they have that high resolution cameras, scanners, all that had gone. So now the challenge that we have been facing is, though the customer has become very internet savvy, but that internet savviness has been limited to social media to a very great extent. When it comes to using financial apps, whether it's a banking app, or there is a NBFC app, or there is an insurance app, what happens is that requires a certain amount of skill set. And that is where my challenge comes into picture, that the customers are not able to flow through the journey and they need assistance at that point in time. So that's where a manual intervention is required to assist them go through the digital journey. So according to me, that's one of the major challenges that we are facing at this point in time.
Sure. So I think the key takeaways for me is essentially how do you assist and improve, handhold the customer through the customer journey while taking a loan. Just on taking that forward, Preeti, in your experience from your organization perspective, right? You operate in a similar domain of both secured and unsecured kind of a loan. Are the similar problems or the additional ones beyond the ones which Amlan mentioned about, which you would like to highlight?
So very similar problems like Amlan mentioned. So while and when you talk about NBFCs, what happens is, I'll just pick up from what Nidhi was saying, that we are also working in not just tier 1 cities, we are working in tier 2, tier 3 cities where people are not as computer savvy or not as digital savvy. So we did face similar problems, but one of the things, when you kind of tell them what is the value they are getting, one of the things when you're lending is that you need to when they were filling up the application form, there were at least 40 or 52 fields, I think we counted, which a customer needs to kind of fill up. And now for a person who is taking a business loan from me from a tier 2, tier 3 city, it is actually a huge task. He will just say कि मुझे बोलो कि sign कहाँ करना है. Baki they just leave it to the guy selling. So what we did in our onboarding journey is that we have digitized the form completely, the application form. He just needs an OTP now, which will come and he has to sign that. So that is one of the, I mean, a very big pain point removed from the customer's point of view. So that's one of the things. The other thing which I would want to share and talk about is that now with all the, now we don't even need him to, he fills up the form through an OTP. The next thing which he needs to do is the banking statements, which we ask him to provide. We have aggregators for that. So that again is OTP based. So he can just go and, so I think it's about, making the customer, what is the value he sees in it. We talk about, the customer wants that, सबसे कम काम मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ. Don't give me stuff to do while you're filling up your
सबसे जल्दी लोन कैसे मिल सकता है?
सबसे जल्दी लोन कैसे मिल सकता है, कहाँ साइन करना. They don't mind. OTP आ रहा है, they will share with you. Go ahead. So that's another thing. The third thing which we did, which I would want to share, is that you get all their application form mein the fields are coming through the CKYC. Then you're getting him the his banking statements. The next thing you get is that you get him an e-agreement. The e-agreement is something which is, it just goes to him. It saves the pain to us also, because then the sales guy does not have to go there, वहाँ से sign करवाना है and all of that. So he can just again use the OTP based e-sign and go ahead with it. And then the final thing is we are delivering him the welcome kit and his agreement, etc. on the WhatsApp. So the onboarding per se for him is, trying to make it as painless as possible.
No, perfectly. I think what you highlighted is how you digitize parts of the journey, right, which is happening, and that's the transitioning from a physical way of doing things to a digitized way of doing things. So taking this forward, Suraj, you represent a fintech, right, and that's things digital first. There is no legacy of physical applications going into digital. So how have you encountered some of these challenges, and especially on the merchant acquisition side? While we have a consumer credit view, if you can just highlight some of the merchant acquisition challenges which you have encountered.
Sure. Thank you, Vinay. That's an interesting question. So to start with, I would say when it comes to merchant acquisition, it's mainly happening on a new platform, microcredit platform called Ring. So we started with the brand Kist, and we have been around for around 5 years in the instant credit space, and we have been, as you said, digital first. Then we started Ring recently in the last 6 months, and it was more into a combination of providing credit, microcredit to merchants, small merchants, as well as their customers. So what we do is we have seen that merchants face a lot of problems when providing credit to their customers. It would be a kirana shop or it would be a small general store, etc. Customers come, especially the daily customers, they come and buy something on credit. The merchant may not be able to give the credit, but he has to give the credit because he wants to retain the customer. So that's the problem we are solving for the merchants, that the credit is given by Ring, and the customer just needs to scan a QR code that's provided by Ring, and he can avail the credit instantly in 2 minutes, and he can pay to the merchant. So the first pain point that we are solving for the customer is he can immediately get credit, and the merchant is no longer required to give credit from his books. And secondly, it's also solving a pain point for us, I would say, because as we have rightly heard that a lot of customers just uninstall the app within 10 days, or even a lot of customers install app, they download the app, they do all the registration, but they may not transact. So here what happens is when the merchant is onboarded, and whenever the customer comes to transact, he will immediately, there is a urge to transact, because the reason he's downloading the app is because he wants to pay. So the first transaction happens 99% of the times because that's the reason he downloaded the app. So that's how we get the customer transacting on day one itself, and then he becomes a regular customer as he can use the app for payments elsewhere also. And the primary objective when it comes to Ring in our case is there are 3 things important for us. One is security, I would say. because being a fintech and being an NBFC ourselves and being regulated by one of the best regulators, that is RBI, I would say fraud prevention is of utmost importance for us, because these are small merchants, these are small customers, and the only thing that tomorrow they would worry about is some fraud happening with their account or some fraud happening with the transactions. So we have given utmost importance to fraud prevention. Second, I would say, is instant credit. And when I say instant, it's like within seconds. So there is nothing more satisfying than providing instant gratification to your customers. So that's where customers get attracted to. And third is, I would say, reliability. And with reliability, I mean these small merchants do not have too many credit options available. They may not go to bank directly for small credit needs, like they need 20,000 today for buying some raw materials. They may not go to a bank, but they need it instantly. And they may not go to a money lender. He may charge high rates. So reliability comes in over there. They can rely on the app that, okay, this is a platform which gives me instant credit whenever I need it. I can rely on them. I know that today I need credit, they will give it to me. If I repay it, tomorrow they will give a higher credit to me. So security, instant credit, and reliability is something that we look for when we solve these pain points.
So instant gratification and security. I think last week's RBI guidelines should not give you any nightmares because you're already ready for it. So I think going from probably giving money to, let me come to taking money as premiums. So Chandni, let me bring you in here. In terms of insurance as a product, right? There is, the key is trust and transparency. And it's a difficult product for customers, right? So when it comes to policy issuance process, right? While we have heard about how various components have been leveraged from a digital perspective in loan, what are those key challenges you have encountered from a policy issuance process when it comes to insurance products?
Yeah, so in the insurance world, one of the biggest challenges is the whole sort of trust on mujhe claim wapas milega ya nahi, that, and that is such a big deterrent that India is so uninsured today. We're talking about I mean, of course, situations have changed the last 2 years. Our sort of life insurance product now is almost at 4% of the GDP, and unlike the percentage was 2% before this, right? So there was a steep 2% jump in the last 2 years. And of course, situation has done it. And when we sort of always went to the customer and asked, why is it that you don't have insurance? Or do you even know if you're adequately insured, so underinsured or no insured, right? That's the situation in our country today. And this is happening because of lack of trust on insurance companies. And while there is of course a lot of innovation happening there in terms of fine products that insurance companies are building based on how I can do the risk assessment accurately, right, with the amount of data that is available. I'm making smarter products by the day, right? It's not just based on whatever banking information or relationship I have with you. Now I have so much more information about you. So while on the product side so much is happening, there is a huge gap in the way this is getting delivered. The distribution is what needs a lot of innovation. And at Turtlement, we're sort of trying to revolutionize that. Where while we're talking about digital, we have digitized this for the end mile delivery, so which is the agent himself, right? I mean, we're talking about digitizing this for the customer. The customer needs so much more information in a banking product, especially insurance, right? There is so much insecurity about getting the claim, about because you have to pay up first, right? And that's a huge commitment. So unlike lending, right? So the end mile delivery needs to be a lot more equipped with information, which is in this case, the agent or the advisor. Needs to be a lot more equipped with information in real time, with personalized sort of quotes, versus a smoker or a diabetic patient. Everything needs to be available to you, right? So what we do, to sort of one thing we were discussing about pain points, right? And one of the biggest pain point businesses have is to identify pain points, right? And because what looks on the surface is we all know it, but when you sort of start measuring this every day, every week, right? And we have our sort of OKR calls every week, and we sort of only talk about the big numbers, right? And when you talk about it so frequently, you will not believe how much unwrapping happens for all the pain points that really matter. We heard Sagar say there's a lot of junk data, and there's so much data, it's overwhelming. You get distracted sometimes, of what to make sense out of, right? And Nidhi mentioned how she's doing it. So I think, for us, for the last 2.5 years, when the whole company was working remotely, the way it worked for us was to sort of measure only the key metrics, right? And when we looked at the key metrics, we started to see that we solved problems, product problems, technology difficult problems, only because we were measuring it so frequently. And because we were measuring it so frequently, we thought, maybe let's figure something else out. This part is not working. So this is over the last, every quarter on quarter, we sort of take up new targets and make sure, we sort of measure that. And quite honestly, the steep targets that we take every quarter, we overachieve almost 80% of those targets across the levels, the hierarchy. Yeah.
So I think the key takeaway, while critical points, but identifying the pain point itself is a critical one. And let me give you a quote. In one of the clients where customers were dropping off, good customers were dropping off. The reason being, they put a field called your monthly obligations. Instead of putting EMI, customers were putting the entire loan amount over there, and hence they were never going through the criteria. So we have this pain points, in terms of the way customer behavior is, the instant gratification. There's a case of customer hand-holding. There's a case of identifying the right pain points. From a product standpoint, right, and obviously solutions, it's all problems. From a solution perspective, be it from a product perspective, or how do you improve the journeys? What is your experience when you're designing the customer experience solutions in your company?
The best part to have the last question is you can get all the keywords from the panelist, build up your kind of a response. Just joking. But I think the two things which came out very clearly in this entire discussion, and the technology cannot be completely oblivious to what is happening in the industry. What I feel is the two things which came out very clearly, what was mentioned was straight through processing, or in other words, from the consumer perspective, it is self-service. I want to do the things in my way. Don't tell me or don't come to my place and I will not do the transaction. Second thing is, as everybody stated, gone are the days when the computers were there. It's all about mobile. Thanks to the connectivity, thanks to the way the apps have been kind of generated by the fintech organization and the new age companies, things have become fairly simple. So I consider that as an Oracle, we see this too as a major differentiating factor. Devise your solution in a way which is kind of acceptable by the consumer as well as the employees of our customers who are going to use it. So it has to be a straight through processing. It should be a kind of a more available on the mobile perspective. Now let me give a perspective over here. Let me give a kind of an example from some of the customers where we have implemented this kind of a solution. So one of the life insurance company, they stated, okay, with the current dynamics which has kind of changed the entire landscape, they wanted to kind of increase their digital revenue. They want to have their customer taking the view on the digital channel, be it a website or be it from the mobile perspective. Now, the question which came is, how can you attract the people to come to your digital property? It's not that you come with a website, you come with a mobile app, and tomorrow you will start a rush of transaction coming in. So that's where the thing comes in. How are you designing the things? How are you making it more amicable to the people to kind of get hooked into it? So they started building up a kind of almost 25 premium calculators, something which will give a customer or a prospective customer the policy illustration, the kind of a benefit he is having it, and how he wants to kind of take the things ahead. So once the illustration has been provided to them, the second question which has been asked is, would you like to buy online? And when you say you want to buy online and the industries out here, from the insurance companies, you know that it is not just issue the policy. You need to have 50 validation rules which you need to go through before kind of an issuing the policy. So the underwriting kind of a rules has to be automated in such a fashion that when the customer says, yes, I want to buy it, then all those things are getting calculated and you are kind of giving him the results, whether you would like to go ahead or whether you would like to kind of, you are not able to issue a policy. So all this entire particular journey, the digital journey of building up the premium calculators, building up the validation rules, having the kind of a propensity ratio generated because of the data which is coming on the website, all is what our customer was able to achieve it through this digital platform. Again, the whole purpose was the same thing, getting the entire customer onboarding journey very smooth, and we have a large CSAT over there. So that was one of the examples which I would like to state it. And second thing which I think it was very important, which was being stated, was paperless world. From the bank, our banking customers, what is more critical is, gone are the days when I go to the bank and do the change of nominees or change of particular address, and those all things have changed now. And again, one simple example, for one of the loan origination company, we have digitized almost 1,500 forms. And this I'm not saying customer facing forms only, customer plus employee facing forms. So all those forms were digitized, and the kind of the impact which it generated was huge. The productivity and the kind of again the CSAT, or you can say net promotion score, but those were the things which we were able to kind of generate. And that's where the technology companies get the satisfaction, when you are able to kind of contribute towards the customer's ultimate goal. So just to summarize, two things which kind of it's a very paramount importance for us: straight through processing and the mobility, which is really kind of going into our product management from the design perspective.
Fantastic. So straight through processing. Let me take that word. I think it's an in word right now from a digital perspective. Suraj, let me come to you in terms of, you are a digital first platform. When it comes to STP, Indian customer, however he is digitally savvy, there is an element of drop off at various points, especially while in a kind of a loan journey where there are multiple stages. How have you managed the entire drop off management and brought the customer back to the platform or that particular channel? Any insights on those components?
Yes. So Vinay, as I said that it's more of a journey wherein it's a journey where the merchant assists the customers. So the customer is not alone. He's always assisted by a merchant over there. And the merchant may not be always available because he's busy with his own work, or he may be serving to 10 more other customers, but there is someone whom he can touch base with. So here we have seen there have been drop-offs. So we have been using different solutions. One of them, to name one of them, would be Mixpanel, wherein we try to understand what are the different stages where customers drop off. For example, the first stage would be someone who has just downloaded the app and he left it over there. There may be several reasons. He did not want to buy the product from the merchant, or he just changed his mind. He was in a hurry. He will do it later, etc. But what we try to do is we design different communication for these customers based on different stages where they drop off. For example, a customer who has just downloaded the app, we may send him a communication about visiting his nearest store, that these are the nearest stores that you have, which you can purchase, and these are the discounts available if you do a first transaction in this store, which is nearest to your location. Because while downloading the app, he enables his locations. We know that, okay, this is a location where he purchases from. And secondly, if there may be a customer who has just completed the KYC and he left it in between. He may be in the DigiLocker process and is left in between. So there we may provide him some offers to complete the KYC with a higher limit if he completes it within 24 hours. Third would be, I would say, there are customers who have done everything, but they have not transacted. Now, what we do here is we give them an alternative option. That since you have visited the store, you have purchased the product, or maybe you have not purchased the product, but you have not done a transaction on the app, which is a very small percentage, like I would say 1 to 2% customers, they do not transact after downloading. So that's so there comes an alternative offering for them, wherein they can just use the credit limit to transfer to their own bank accounts and use it as a cash wherever they want. So that's where we give them an offer that, okay, you have a credit limit available, you have not used it, so please withdraw it into your own account and use it for shopping, etc. So that's how we tackle drop-offs, and we provide different solutions to customers. So if a customer has dropped off, we won't force him, no, you have to go to the shop again and you have to transact. There are other different options. You may want to do an online shopping. through Flipkart or Amazon, or we can give you an offline online voucher to shop online. So these are the different sets
Touch
we
points.
keep experimenting.
So you mentioned about showing the customer the nearest store, or if he wants to do online on Flipkart or Amazon. So we're talking about touch points also, various touch points. What are the preferred touch points, right? So now Preeti, just coming to you, we spoke about onboarding, you spoke about entire digitizing the journey. When it comes to customer touch points, right? Those touch points are constantly evolving. It used to be web. NBFC used to design for web. Now they design for mobile. Now they're designing for WhatsApp. So essentially, going forward, futuristically, what do you think would be the dominant customer touch point from an onboarding perspective?
So this is something which is, which we talk about constantly in our office, because whether it is onboarding or whether it is servicing. So since I'm heading customer service as well, so primarily a lot of my time goes into seeing that which is the channel which my customers will predominantly be using. I think unanimously we have agreed between sales and service that WhatsApp is the go-to channel. There are just no two ways about it now. So at least that fight has ended over there, because it is just so convenient. I think whenever we are, like, I commute by City Flow bus, and when I'm sitting in the bus, primarily it's not about, when you look at people, everybody's on WhatsApp. So everyone does so much of their personal work also on WhatsApp. So I think WhatsApp is the channel. And for us, what we are trying to do in Axis Finances, we are wanting to push all the traffic from emails to WhatsApp and develop it as a primary channel. And we are already seeing that even though we have a customer portal, which he has to access from the website, that also is not being leveraged. In fact, we have customers which are asking, like, since we've begun our retail journey just about 2.5 years back, customers have they come back and write to us that why can't we do it on WhatsApp? So what we've started off is, we started pushing notifications on WhatsApp. We are pushing the welcome kit, we are pushing the loan agreement, we are pushing documents to them on WhatsApp right now. But we are feeling the pull from them that they want two-way conversation happening on WhatsApp, and that is what we've started doing right now. So,
So talking about WhatsApp, I think Amran, I have to come to you on that. You're one of the few NBFCs, or one of the first NBFCs to launch a business loan on a WhatsApp. So you're getting a lot of this data. And you are a diversified group.
Exactly.
From NBFC to wealth. So 2 points on this. One, how has been the experience of rolling out that kind of a component? One. And second is, this data, how are you combining from a cross-sell perspective, getting the entire 360-degree view of the customer?
Yeah, so as far as the WhatsApp journey is concerned, that has been a phenomenal journey as an entity for us as well, to develop that entire journey for our customers, where they just send a hi to one of the numbers that we have given and the journey starts. So all the customer has to do is send a hi or a hello, and he gets links. He selects the links, he moves on, he sends documents on WhatsApp, the validations happens on WhatsApp, the OTPs are generated through WhatsApp, and finally, when the bank account validation happens, the credit flows through obviously into the bank account. So means we are in a process where we are about to merge two platforms. In the lending business, there are only two activities to be performed. One is lending, one is getting the money back.
Yeah.
So on one side, we have integrated WhatsApp, where the customers will be onboarded and lending will happen through WhatsApp. On the other side, we are the next step would be to integrate Google Pay for the repayments. So the moment these two patterns are integrated, then I think, because Google Pay, on the surveys that we have conducted, on the market research that we have conducted, Google Pay is the most utilized in the UPI handle.
It's number
as
one
of
UPI
today,
in the
across India.
Yeah.
For sure. And it was recently we had a strategy meet which was outside India, fortunately, and we saw the adaptation of digitization in India is much higher than European countries. So in a European countries, if you happen to travel in any European country, and you have to show your a very simple, your vaccination certificate. So if you see a queue, all Indians will be pulling out their mobile and showing the certificate on their mobile phone, either on Arogya Setu, or they have downloaded the certificate in a PDF format or something like that. had. Whereas what I saw in the European market from the European team, including people from the United States, were showing a physical documentation. So we were means that was though that it was something sinking into us, but that was like we were awestruck that okay, this is we are talking about a third world country in front of a first world country. So what we see that the digitization has gone into the nerves of India. So all we are looking at is integrating the most used digital platforms for our customer journey, as rightly said by ma'am, that WhatsApp is the most abused, I would say, the digital platform in today's world. So we are using that to lend. So we want to use the most abused UPI and platform to collect.
I just remembered something. Sorry, I wanted to share that. I think about 3 to 4 years back, we were talking about WhatsApp utilization. So I had a cook. She was like slightly elderly, so she couldn't type on the WhatsApp because तब शायद हिंदी का keyboard typing वगैरह enable नहीं था. So this one used to be very smart and she started using the voice, and this I'm talking about I think 4 to 5 years back, when the voice feature was not that prominent. I didn't know about it, and suddenly I'm getting a voice message from her. I said, "What is this?" And then she said, "नहीं दीदी ऐसे कर सकते हैं." I said, "Oh, I mean, that time we didn't know that it could be utilized."
Another example recently is from merchant's perspective, what Paytm has done. The moment you pay, there's a voice assistant coming up. It's an innovation over there. So Primal, you have seen the WhatsApp is evolving. It's all good from experience perspective. But when it comes to developing those tech capabilities, the WhatsApp data, how its journey moves, how it has to be seamless, how those tech capabilities can be built within the CX solution, because that is going to be a next component about it.
See, one thing which is very evident, which is coming up, is digitization has kind of opened up multiple channels. Like ma'am talked about WhatsApp, then there are mobile apps, and then there are multiple channels which are kind of more conducive to the customer. Now, gone are the days when the rigidity was there, कि okay, आपको ये करना है तो ऐसे ही होना चाहिए, और this is how my processes are laid down, you need to do the same. Whenever we go to any customer, and I think it's very evident stating that whatever business processes you develop, that's all fine. Tell us how it should be multi-channel. It should, whatever the data is coming from those channels needs to be kind of recorded in a way where we can use it. Because the famous kind of a diagram or a discussion which we were having it of data lake versus the CDP, having just a custodian of data has nothing to do. Okay, they need something which is kind of a more actionable. So having all the data which is coming from whether from multiple channels, how you can present it back to the business users or the business owners, and they can take some actionables out of it. Be it from the cross-sell upsells, because people are demanding it. More and more businesses are demanding कि बस data इतना आ रहा है तो आप मुझे वो in moment बताओ. Like ma'am was talking about hyper personalization. What is hyper personalization all about? It's all about like जब भी customer मेरे digital property में आ रहा है, वो data आप मुझे शाम को दोगे तो वो there is no meaning to it. But throw that data to me where I can take some action on it. So that is something which is kind of driving our particular journey definition. So that's where if you ask us how the technology people like Oracle are kind of driving the customer journey definition is, be more agile, be more flexible, be more receptive to the people who wants the way they want to do the business in a more agile way. So I would say multi-channel, having a more actionable data, having something which is kind of getting the data from your first party customer data as well as from the behavioral data. Now the behavioral thing is coming very actively. So mashing these two data and then creating the actionables is something which is kind of really gelling well with the customer.
Got it. So we have a dominant channel. We have the technology ready for supporting the dominant channel. But there's one element of product. And while loans is a very simple, straightforward product to understand, can be done over WhatsApp. When it comes to insurance products, right, we talked about trust and transparency. Insurance products are really difficult. Even for financial services people, it's difficult to understand insurance as a product. What is exclusions? What are inclusions? So how have you, in your organization, Chandni, tackled this particular challenge to maybe simplify the products?
Yeah. So you're right. This is one of the biggest challenges in the insurance space. So what we do is summarize this. It's like this one quick pager of all the important things that you need to know to understand, at least comprehend it. And we also build a recommendation engine, right? Which is largely sort of assisting in the cross selling sort of a model, right? So if you've come for a, let's say, 4-wheeler or a 2-wheeler insurance product, which is a mandatory product, it doesn't necessarily insure you fully, right? So then we sort of give you some add-ons, recommend, based on what is your model, what is your make type, what is what is your sort of kind of car or bike you are sort of buying, and we want to make sure that we sort of give you a personal accident cover recommendation, and to make sure that you are fully covered, right? So like Preeti was also saying earlier, right, that customer ko kaam nahi karna hai, and you have to solve it for them, right? You have to, even if it costs you, right? It costs to build the engines, to do some API pings, to build the infrastructure. Even I think in the loan scenario, right, you have to call for KYC documentation. Every ping will cost you, right? I think businesses have evolved to say that we will bear this cost, right? And because we want the customer experience to be seamless, and we don't 1 minute or 1 click is a big cost in the digital world. So businesses are absorbing that cost, and that's how much value people see in terms of reducing the amount of work businesses are expecting customers to do. These are some of the things that we've done. We summarize, keep it crisp, don't let the customers do too much. We sort of summarize it, build recommendation engines, equip our teams to sort of do this for the customer, right? So and this is across channels, right? Whether somebody's talking on phone, or there is a chat bot that is doing it, or even in the application itself, right, which is a DIY sort of framework, right? So this is what, and then it's an evolution, really. I mean, there's a lot of information that we need to sort of do at a plan level, and then things evolve also, right? I mean, plans evolve, customer requirements evolve. Ab mujhe janna hai, when is my next pay, life insurance premium due, when is my renewal due, so we sort of put reminders, that entire journey to track your insurance, and what it is now, how much are you due, what happens, there's a situation now, are you covered, all of that, we sort of have to do at our end.
A proactive approach to customers.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think onboarding itself can be a topic in itself, but moving away from onboarding of customers. So let me come back to my NBFC friends. So from giving loans now, as life has collecting loans, right? Collecting the money from customer, right? So from that perspective, right, collections has various experience, and that defines where the customer next takes the loan from, right? So from a collections experience perspective, Suraj, how have you leveraged your platform, and how you made that collections experience seamless for customers?
Okay, so when it comes to collections, we have kept it entirely digital again. So wherein the customer gets some 6 to 7 options, like Sir rightly said, that Google Pay and all the UPI apps are provided over there, and plus the normal payment gateway options are there. Apart from that, what we do is we do incentivize the customers in collections, because we strongly feel that the kind of customers we have, they're not taking a home loan which is of 20 years or a personal loan. So they are taking a credit line which they may be paying in 1 or 2 months. So the most important part for us, apart from, of course, collections is important, that's where the money comes from, but also the repeat business given by the customer strongly depends on how the collection was made. So it's necessary that there are no forceful tactics applied in collections, especially if the customer has delayed the payment. So it's very necessary for us to be soft, to have some empathy towards the customer, to understand that there may be a delay, and also to provide him some options which can ease the repayment for him. I would give an example. During the pandemic, we saw a lot of customers were not able to make payments on time, and that's where all these options like moratorium, etc., restructuring helped them a lot. And so we have made it a policy that we continue providing these options. So even today, if a customer is facing a problem, he's not able to make a payment of a loan or an EMI instantly on the due date, what we do is first we offer him some waivers on the late fees. If there is a late fee applied, we do offer him a waiver of say 20 to 50% of the waiver, depending on the customer profile and the loan amount. Second, what we do is if he is not eligible for a waiver, we at least help him. The customers may sometimes say that I do not want calls to come to me, just give me 5 days. So it's fine. So we stop all communication for 5 days for that customer. Third, I would say is we do offer moratorium for customers who have been with us for at least say 1 year or more. We do offer them moratorium. These are not long moratorium like 1 year or 2 years. These are like 15 days moratorium or 30 days or 2 months moratorium. But even these small gestures, of course, we charge a basic interest for the moratorium. But these small gestures help the customers realize that the company is supporting it, and this is a platform that I can trust, and I can go back to this platform when I want a loan another time, so that they don't have to jump from one app to another app every time they need a loan. So collections for us is more about that customer experience has to gel with collections, and the customer services team works closely with collections. So whenever there is an escalation, whenever there is any problem faced by the customer, the same ticket flows throughout the customer service department, comes back to the collections. So they don't work in silos, they work together. And that's, so as a head of customer experience, that's my job. So coordinating between the collections and customer services team so that the customer doesn't face any problems.
Respecting customers' promise to pay, kind of a period where you don't reach out to customer when he has said he'll pay at a particular date.
Yes.
And then have an experience in a way which is not known from a normal collections methodology or collections way of doing
and
business.
Just letting go some amount, like as I said, a 20% waiver on late fees would help him pay 10 days faster.
Yeah.
So you're getting the payment faster 10 days, but you may lose something on the late fees. That's fine. But you are giving him a better experience. You make him feel that he's valued, and at the same time, you are getting payments faster. So that's what we keep playing around. We generate new offers for customers to help them.
We're taking the collections component forward. RBI has been pushing Amlan on the entire account aggregator biz. Account aggregator is going to give us tons of data. We have started with bank statement. It is going to be SEBI has now given the approval to come into account aggregator. So there is going to be tons of data being available, both on the liabilities and asset side. How do you think that is going to improve both on a servicing and the collection perspective?
So there's a very famous quote from my chairman on this, that a stalwart used to say, how much money is more money. So in today's world, it has become like how much data is more data. So there is no quantification of it, how much data you have in the market, in your own systems, in your own database, how much data you have it. So till the time you can make a logical sense out of that data, that's absolute rubbish lying there. So our in today's world, means if I put the IIFL group together, we would be having more than about 50 million customers, wealth, securities, 5paisa, IIFL Finance, and all my other entities put together, realty and everything, more than 50 million customers across the entity. But can I use that 50 million customer data for every single customer? I guess not, as of today. So that's where the challenge is, making logical sense out of data.
Got it. But I think right time for me to bring in Primal here, because you have put up a challenge which is challenge across, not just with the NBFCs, banks, conglomerates, financial services conglomerates. You have heard it first, right from Amla in terms of data, right? There is enough data. Account aggregator is going to bring more data, structured and unstructured data. How do you organize this data and write solutions to solve this kind of problem?
Let me continue with the NBFC example. That's very critical. So again, talking from the experience with one of the customer, again an NBFC customer, largest NBFC in India. So biggest challenge they stated was, first I would like to go to Suraj. We said that collection is very important. So first they said, okay, collection is critical. How are you making this collection easier for us? Okay, don't give me the standard kind of a journeys that T minus 45, T minus 30, reminder dete jao, फिर customer आएगा और so he will read the SMS or email or WhatsApp and then he will pay. Why can't you give me some predictiveness over here? You have my entire history of the customers who are making the payment. And as Amlan mentioned, the tons of data is coming. How are you making the right decision out of it? So they said, okay, can you do some predictiveness? Can you tell me beforehand what will be the kind of a propensity of some of my particular people who will not pay the EMIs or not pay the loans? And can I nudge them? Can I nudge them in a rightful manner with various offers or with various particular things to get this money out? This is where the technology needs to play a role. And that's what they were throwing the challenge to us, saying that, okay, you are the custodian of our largest data. And when I'm talking about the data, the size of the data which this NBFC is having it, they're almost having 100 crores of interaction with their customer in a month. They are having 700 parameters of customers which are getting captured. Now you can imagine the tons of data which is kind of coming on to the solution. They are stating, okay, you have every particular aspect of the customer data, profile data as well as a behavioral data which is coming in. Now show me the real power of data. Now do not ask me about the customer journeys. Do not ask me, okay, ये straight through processing कर दिया तो product efficiency लेके आ रहे हो. That's all fine. Go next level. And that's where, Vinay, just to kind of come to your question, this is a challenge which has been thrown to us. The data or the solution which we are offering to our customer has to have some intelligence in here. This is where the challenge comes, whether you are having any AI, ML model which are embedded into it. Give me some results which are more actionable and I can take some actions on it. So that's how we are kind of devising the solution which are more amicable to all the panelists out here. I think I completely agree, and I was resonating to the discussions which was going on. These are very pertinent things. These are the real life scenarios, and these are the challenges which come to us where we need to be a business enabler.
No, fantastic. I think that is the key point to solve going forward. How do you organize data, build intelligence on the data which you are capturing? I have just some last few questions left, given that the timer is showing red signal. So I think, Chandni, coming to you, right? Insurance companies make it very easy to collect money from a premium perspective, right? Comes now your chance of giving money with this on a claims experience, right? The entire claims experience sometimes is very difficult from an industry perspective, right? What are some of the innovations which you and your organization have tried to solve the entire claims experience for the customers?
Yeah, I think, it's a very good question and barely sort of get asked. Claims generally in the insurance business, people are talking about, how much sales have happened or what's the distribution like. But very sort of seldom we focus on what is the claim amount disbursed for the year and, how our business is faring. Insurance companies, I'm talking about specifically, right, against the premium they are charging to the claims they are giving out, right? So, we are sort of, because we are a bulk distributor, we sort of make a very good relationship with the insurer parties, right? So there's a huge negotiation power, so to say, right? And while that is the case, our claim rate has been fantastic. What we do is, the agents who work with us, we take up all their claim cases, right? So one, the advisor himself is so troubled with, the claim cases because, they mostly get rejected, under claimed, there are loopholes that he's not aware of. So what we're trying to do is standardize the claim process. There are most of it, like STP is a very popular BFSI jargon, right? So we measure claims on how much of that has gone through simply, and then there are some advanced really tough claims, right? And we fight that for the customer, for the agent, for that relationship, to sort of nurture further, right? So we do this for the advisor in the interest of the customer with the insurer. So while we're doing this, I'm sure you would have also seen the last. So we also sort of launched our claims app recently to smoothen the entire claims tracking process, to also smoothen. See, the minute insurance is bought from anywhere, insurance is bought from banks, from distributors, advisors. The next thing somebody does is goes to the insurer's app. So if you've bought, like, say, a Reliance Insurance General plan, even if you've bought it from a from an agent or from a bank, you'd straight away download the app, right? There is suddenly it is the responsibility of the insurer to deliver it, right? So that is the landscape we're changing as an insurance distributor, right? We're taking the onus of the claim settlement process also.
Perfect. So last, because I want to close on this, and Preeti with you, is we've spoken about all the external facing customer experience, but customer experience as much has to be intrinsic, and the culture and the framework which you have to develop within the organization. If in 1 minute, if you can just throw light on that, it would be very helpful.
I think we'll just keep it very simple. While we've been talking about digitization and digitalization all along, I think the most important thing for this is that we have to have the human element. So the way you're going to be treating your employees, the way you would want to be treated yourself, if you're treating your customers like that, I think that is going to clinch it. So along with have a human experience, talk to them as you would talk to your own people, how you would want to be treated, and then use the digital experience. I think that is something which I would want to sum it up, that if you want to be a very customer-centric organization, you have to balance both these elements. You can't just be totally digital and not look at a human side. And then, of course, that it has to be, when you say customer-centric, everybody has to think about the customer. It cannot be this is my work or his work, or across the organization you have to talk about customers. So in just an example, what we're doing in Access Finance is we've defined our customers into 3: employees, and your customers, and your partners. So everyone talks the same language. So
I'm glad you spoke about the human element, given the craze around metaverse. So I think
yeah. Means in our IFL world we call it phygital.
Yeah.
A mix of physical plus digital.
Yeah.
So we use this word that although we are in the spree of digitization, but still let's not just do away with the human touch.
Exactly. So I think key takeaways broadly. One is on the onboarding side, there is the STP journeys, but customer still requires handholding, be it on the insurance side or be it on the loan side. On a collections, I think as in case of claims, the trust, transparency, and promise to pay, right? Respecting the promise to pay component becomes critical. And lastly, not losing, given all the emerging technologies, all the AML or the metaverse, which is going to come up, the human element and human touch is probably the most important, which is still there when you go or when in the entire purchase buying process. So with that, I'm thank you so much to all my panelists for the fantastic discussion across the life cycle. 45 minutes is a short time to go all the life cycle components, but thank you so much for all your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, panel, for this invigorating discussion. I'm sure the applause can be louder for our panel, right? Okay, do we have any questions? I'm sure we have many questions, but I think we have time to take only a few. So the gentlemen over there and over there who have put up their hands, we'll be passing on the mic to them. We'll keep it quick so that we can do the rest of the discussion and Q&A while you all are having the networking dinner. So request you, sir, to please introduce yourself and direct the question to the panelist you want to hear from.
Good evening, everyone. Myself, Gautam Mukherjee. I represent the frontline sales team of an insurance company in the GI space. One thing definitely that's resonating out here is that customer experience, to give the best customer experience. My question is that in today's world, with customers having multiple touch points, websites and emails and so many other touch points with democratization of technology, the data, there's so much of proliferation of data that is happening, and that needs to be integrated into a company's CRM solution. My point here is that that ensures that the 360-degree view of the customer that is created is reliable, based on which you are creating the digitized, a digitized journey for the customer. What ensures the reliability of that 360-degree view?
Yeah, I think we spoke about data, how it's getting organized. I think this is for you.
Pulled out. I think a very pertinent question, and that's what all the customers are asking, and I think we heard from the panelists also. A lot of data coming in, how to kind of make a meaningful data for you to take an action on it. And again, the data which is coming in is not in a structured fashion only. It is coming in the unstructured fashion. You are also putting a lot of digital assets which are available to your customer to kind of get your behavioral data or get the preference data. What is more critical is that's what we will be, and I think Sagar and the ma'am and everybody were discussing about in the initial part of the session. The beauty of the technology solution is how to kind of absorb this data, how to get the data absorbed and create one single view of your customer. And this single view of the customer can be kind of used by multiple applications within the organization. As you rightly pointed out, if I have a lot of data of the customer, how am I giving this data to my front end guy who is kind of in front of the customer? My relationship manager or my insurance agent or insurance advisor is in front of the customer. When he's kind of going there, can I give him some nudges? Can I give him some data which is more relevant for him to have a meaningful conversation? Not only conversation, but help him in kind of concluding it towards the sale. So that's why the system becomes very kind of helpful, where we are saying that customer data which you are gathering should be used in a manner across all particular systems within your organization. CRM is one of it, but it can be anything else where we can kind of serve this data to make you a meaningful day.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Did I kind of answer you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks.
I think we have one more question.
Yeah, hi. So as we all know that the young generation or the Gen Z as we call them, they all prefer to transact online. So is there some study available or some analysis available which shows which are the more which platforms are available whereby these young generation are more present and more visible? Is there some study analysis available?
So I can take that in terms of the channels and probably I'll separate Gen Z and millennials. Millennials, I think there was a study which was done where essentially gaming platforms, right, was a key criteria for some of the marketeers, and this is beyond financial services to kind of target this kind of customers from a purchase behaving perspective, because that is where the engagement is happening for millennials on the game. And this is again a wider set millennials. When you further do on a segment specific, the kind of platforms change, but gaming came out as a primary key platform to target a millennial kind of segment. Gen Z, it's a different segment. Gen Z is essentially in terms of mobile first, and depending upon the sector or the area they're representing. Essentially right now, WhatsApp still remains a dominant channel for Gen Z kind of customer. Same is the case with millennials also, but millennials also, the engagement is increasing, the time of engagement is increasing on gaming platforms. So that's one. Suraj, anyone?
Yeah, as rightly said, there is a lot of engagement on gaming platforms as well as on shopping platforms. And I would say, in my perspective, what we do at Ring is that we have a lot of young employees on the contact center team, especially. So these are like doing their first time job. So what I do from my end is that I collect a lot of data from them with respect to their usage. So I know how many people in my team, which is almost a 250 member team, I know how many of them use iOS and how many use Android, which are the top apps that they have on their phones. And on top of that, each one of the 250 member team has taken credit from Ring. Now, this is mandatory for them. I have made it mandatory that you need to take credit, but it's free for them. There is no charges, no interest, no processing fees. The only reason I have made it mandatory, and they lovingly take it, because daily basis I get a report that how many people have got a failed transaction, how many people got a screen loading. So all these things come on a live basis to you. And the beauty of it is that you can ask for any data from them. You cannot call a customer and ask him, sir, आपका Android का version क्या है? आपके यहाँ पे app नहीं चल रहा? I just wanted to know which device you are using. But I can ask the employee. He can give me all the information. He can give me a screen recording of the same. So when it comes to research and analysis and understanding customer pain points, I rely on a lot of live analysis and live usage through employees.
It has to be employees. No longer you can ask customer any longer after what RBS come out last week.
So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I think we can take more questions at the networking dinner. So now I would like to request Vinay sir to please do the honors of sharing the memento with our eminent panelists here. I would announce the names and I will request for a photo op also at the same time. Okay, Suraj Shetty, Head Customer Experience, K-String. Huge round of applause. Preeti Singh, Head of Customer Experience, Access Finance Limited. Again, a huge round of applause for her. Calls for a photo op. Amlan Singh, Head of Customer Service, IIFL, India Infoline Group. Huge round of applause for sir, and here is his memento. Huge round of applause for all our eminent guests and panelists present here. Chandni Mehta, Director Marketing, Turtle Mint. Huge round of applause and a photo op. Primal Shah, Head BFSI Director, Sales, Oracle CX. Huge round of applause and a photo op. And so now I will request Mr. Primal Shah to actually do the honors of presenting the memento to Vinay Narkar sir as a token of appreciation and for the amazing moderation that he did. That calls for a group photo op. So if we can have a beautiful photograph here with all the mementos and the panelists here. Huge round of applause. This was the final panel for the evening. And of course, a huge round of applause for the audience for making it here to celebrate CX Informals, which was brought to you by Oracle in association with ET Brand Equity. Thank you so much. My name is Shayanti Banerjee. It was an absolute honor to be your host for this evening. I have learnt a lot from the panels and of course the eminent guests I had an interaction with. I hope you all enjoyed this CX Informals, which was brought to you by ET Brand Equity in association with Oracle. And of course, a huge round of applause for you all for being an eminent guest here. It is said, I would like to end this session with, that you are not rich enough until you have something which money cannot buy. And I think today we had enough of knowledge to take back with us. And that is what is going to be treasured. That is what my understanding of equity is. Thank you so much. Good night. Have a great evening.